Hello, everybody. It's Pastor Tom welcoming you to another study of the Word. In this session, I'm going to pick it up where I left off. We were in what I call the Church from Hell, the Blue Church in Brussels, California. Nice church, had a nice facility, but I was moving on. They did not know it. We had already started another church. We kept it quiet because I wanted to go to this little lady when I got back and talk to her and tell her my time's up. I've done what you asked me to do. And now what I want to do is to turn this over to somebody else. I'll do that. I'll get somebody for you or whatever it is. You guys can get somebody, but I fulfilled my commitment to you. And never could get a hold of her right now because what they had done is they had paid her a visit, and they had somehow poisoned her. I think a little bit about us, and yeah, the whole thing was a mess. Anyway, when I came home, we just couldn't communicate with these people. I got home. It happened to be Christmas time. It was about the same time of the year as I'm making this right now, which is December. I think it's 10th right now. It's probably around that same time. Christmas is coming. There's a lot of extra expenses Christmas time and so on and so forth. So I wasn't too concerned about it because I figured that, well, we were going to do this anyway. They're going to do this, and so we were being accused of all kinds of things. So they were accusing us of this and that and the other thing, and I don't like accusations, especially with somebody who won't talk to me. So I said, well, we'll just move on here and do the best we can, and I'll deal with it. So when I got back home, I had to deal with it. Now I'm standing there outside of that little house we rented, and all of a sudden some guy pulls up in a car, and he gets out, and he goes, "Are you Tom Terry?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he handed me, "You've been served." And I found out that these people were suing me. They were suing us for, quote unquote, trying to steal their property and trying to steal their church. Now, nothing could be further from the truth because I had already started the other church, but they didn't know that. They didn't come to me. They didn't talk to me. Nobody did it. They just did what they did. And so I go, my God. And then I found out that the bank had frozen all of our assets so that my paychecks uh, were not coming, were not going through. And I had all kinds of bills out that I tried to pay, and it was a mess. It was a mess what they did to me. And so I was a little bit upset about it, as you might imagine. And I was just trying to figure out, how do I handle this, because they won't talk to us. We kept calling them. We'd go over to their house. They would hide these people. Finally, I said, okay, if they're going to be like this, I have to protect myself. I'm standing. I said, but I don't have any money. What am I going to do, Lord? And Christmas is coming, and it was. I said, Lord, you're just going to have to help me. Well, lo and behold, somebody came up to me and gave me $10,000. Now that's pretty good for Christmas. Pretty good for it. Took care of everything. So I could see that God was moving. I took the $10,000 and paid my tithes and everything, but I also had to take $1,000 to go get a lawyer to protect myself. Now the Bible says Christians shouldn't sue each other, so I wasn't for this at all, but I had to protect myself. They're suing me, I wasn't suing them. And so I got a lawyer. Well, I'm waiting for the lawyer to do something. When he looked at the case and he talked to me, he said, "This is no problem. We'll get you. This will be done with in like a week." The only problem was he didn't tell me he's going on vacation for almost a month. Uh, so it's about 3 weeks. I don't want to exaggerate. Well, he's skiing or something, and I'm running around trying to figure out what's going on because he had not called these other people's. Um, though we did pay him the money, he had not called this other lawyer and done anything with it as far as I knew. So this was kind of difficult. Now, when he got back, I called him up and I said, he goes, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Pastor Tom, come on over here." So I took one of my board members with me, and we went over there, and we sat down with him, and he goes, "Look, I know this guy. I know this other lawyer." He says, "Let me give him a call. You guys just let me talk, and I'm going to call him right now, and you watch what happens because from what you're telling me, he does not know what's going on. They told him some story that's not true." So he called him, and they both, "How's George? Hey, George, how you doing? How's the wife, Martha?" It's like that. I'm going, my God. And he said, "Listen, I want to call you about this." And he called out the name of the church, and he goes, "Thing." He goes, "What'd they tell you about that? This Mr. Terry and everything?" And he listened. He goes, "Oh no, okay, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, here's what really happened." And he laid down what was really going on and what we had done and all that kind of stuff. By the end of the conversation, he said, "Okay, thank you, bye." Hung up. He turned around to me and he said, "It's all done." That guy's backstroking like you wouldn't believe, because he realizes that what these people are doing is illegal. And he realizes now that what they're doing is trying to steal, uh, you know, all that bank account that you built up and all this kind of stuff. So he told me, he said, what we could do is we can counter sue. And you can tell, well, when you got a lawyer, if you got a lawyer, you can tell their eyes light up when they know they could get money. And he says, we could take it, we could get the building, we could get the land, we could get everything. He says, and you could get all the money that's in there, and you can get your. And I said, no. I said, I cannot sue silly little women who are acting like this, because they're in trouble as it is. All I want to do is just move on with no more legal things against me. And if that's done, I'm fine. I said to them, I said to him, there's $38,000 in the bank account, and I had my idea would have been to split that up between the two churches, but because they did what they did to me, I just said, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do: unfreeze all of the bank account and everything, and we will cancel all of our stuff. But here's the deal. I said, I give them the $38,000. I gift them that. Let them have that. Let them have the building. I don't care. Just want peace. That's the way I did it. Now listen to me very carefully here. I said, I'm going to walk in love. I told the congregation, we're going to walk in love. We're going to pray for these people that are despitefully using us and wronging us. And we did that. And there was a lot of tears because it was difficult. But I found that when we moved, there was no pressure on anybody. Never said anybody has to come with me. I said you can if you want to, but most of the congregation came with me. Quite frankly, when they saw what they did, they were appalled. There was people in that church that had been there on the board that saw what happened, and they were completely appalled, and they came with me. They couldn't believe it. They were very upset and hurt about it. But people are people. So we started our church in Sturgeon Bay. All that other stuff went away. They took the $38,000, and they bought they got a new pastor who they wanted in the first place. That was a real yes man. And unfortunately, I got into building the church in Sturgeon Bay, and this guy came, and he was over there having services, and he's about 30 something years old and had a family, and he was killed instantly in a car crash. It was a tragedy. The people that came against me and switched the doors out, they all started dying of terrible diseases, and terrible things happened. But I wasn't praying for that to happen. I just realized and understood, because of the type of activity that they were doing, they were going to get in trouble, and they did. And so we had to go on without all of that, and we started building. And we got a place where we liked, that was it was basically a little tiny mall type of situation. It had some building with some offices and restaurants and different things, and we rented a piece of that for our church, which was quite good at the time for us. We fixed it up nice, and we were doing a lot. We were starting to build up television and ministry type of things, and recording these things and getting into the internet, and started posting all these videos, and different things were happening at that time. And I was finding out about media. So my thing became really focusing on media for a while, because I'd never done it before, learning about it. I didn't want to do it. I hated it. I thought, my God, man, who can do this uh, computer stuff all day? That's what I thought, because I'm from the old school. We wrote stuff down. Yeah, I still think it's better in some ways to do that. But anyway, to make a long story short, technology was the thing. And I went into it kicking and screaming. I'm from the old school. I said, Lord, I can't do this. Kicking and screaming. He said, I want you to get a Facebook page. I go, I don't want to be on Facebook. That's the most ridiculous. To me, that was the most ridiculous thing ever. Facebook, right? But he told me to go ahead, so I did. I got a Facebook page. I put our information in there, some of it anyway, for purposes of people knowing who we were and where we're at. Of course, a lot of people didn't know who we were. Most of them were on the West Coast. So I was not sold on this whole thing of social media. I had no idea what you could do with it. No idea what was like, what was happening there, what was possible, because I'm just starting. But what changed my mind about it was that one of the people two people that I had went to high school with, people that I was friends with in high school, befriended me on Facebook, and both those people started watching my videos and got their life changed. And when that happened, and they let me know what had happened, immediately I knew why this is a way to reach people. My God, because you can put on a Facebook Live or whatever, right? That was a big deal at the time, Facebook Live. And the Lord said to me after I got using Facebook Live, go ahead and do some YouTube videos. And I had to go through that, figure out how to do YouTube and all that. So that started the whole thing. There's a young family out in Pakistan that were watching me on Facebook. And they liked me and they liked what I taught. And they just got one of my videos and they dubbed it over in their language. And what they would do is they would take it out to a small village somewhere in Pakistan where they never heard the gospel. It was really rural communities, small villages. And they would play the video, and marvelous things began to happen when they did that. They told me at the time that they had been there for many, many years. Their parents had a ministry and very little results for years and years and years. But when they put a video on and they put it on, the 80% of them got saved. There was one boy there that had never walked, got up and walked off. Now, see, they did this without even telling me they were going to do it. And they didn't ask. They were asking for permission, but I just wasn't reading their emails because you get bombarded with people overseas. And anyway, to make a long story short, I finally figured it out, and I contacted them, and they asked me, "Can we use your videos for this? This is what's happening." And I said, "Well, that's what they're for. Go ahead, sure." And so they started doing that, and I started getting these reports back. And I started developing a relationship with them because you see, you got to be when you're talking about overseas, you got to know people and you got to know what they're doing. You got to know if they're sincere because there's a lot of cons. And first thing he told me was, you got to watch out for Pakistan because there's a lot of cons here. I said, okay. So I checked him out, checked out his father. Most of it was a good report. There's always somebody out there that doesn't like somebody, and there's a lot of jealousy there in Pakistan. But over a period of time, I developed a good relationship with these kids. They started using my videos, and we started getting these reports back. And, they go in there, and, 20, 30, 100 people would get saved sometimes or whatever it was. And then we started developing a relationship with them, and I said, well, how much would it cost to have a little bit bigger meetings? And they told me, well, we had to bus the people in. We'd have to do some advertising. We have a team, and we could probably do it for, I don't know, $1,300. I'll just say that. Doing all that. And I said, let's do one. And I said, let's do one though, if we can, where I'm on Skype and I can see what they're doing. So because up to that time, there was just the videos that I gave them, and they overdubbed them, and they did that. So they said, that's great. Let's do that. And so we had our first Skype crusade. It was a pretty good size. I think, if I remember right, there was thousands of people there. They had bussed them in. I could see them. They'd wave at me, and they'd do the music and everything. And then I'd come on and I do the ministry part of it. And it was amazing outpouring of the Holy Spirit. People were saved. People were filled with the Holy Spirit. But the main thing was people were saved, and there was a lot of healings and deliverances. And they began to. This is the way they worked it. We would have the meeting, then they would bring people up that had testimonies. They get testimonies. They'd write them down. They counted how many people were saved. They counted how many people were touched and the different miracles, and as best they could. Then they would stay and they would make a church out of it. Basically, um, baptize the people from the villages and make a central place where they could all meet. And that was happening, and I was not even there. And so over a period of time, that got bigger and bigger. We bought them a generator so they didn't have to have, they could do the meetings even if the grid went down somehow that way, with just electric. And because it happened, sometimes they just don't have power, and sometimes the lights would go out. Well, some wild stuff happened over the years. I mean, there was a time, I remember one time, one crusade, we never did get off the ground because there was a big brawl. I don't know, two factions of Muslims or somebody started fighting, and there was a bloody mess out there. So we never did get to that one. Another one, there was a sandstorm. I remember that was just blowing in, and man, and the towers they put the lights up fell down, all this stuff. But for the most part, except for weather, sometimes we were able to do the crusades, and we got pretty good at it, and we got better at it, and we got coordinated at it, and they got better at it, and so we got them some equipment, and we did a book for them. Have you received the Holy Ghost since you believe? That changed thousands of lives. And we were doing so. We've been doing that now at the church. The reason I brought that up is this is a big deal for us now for about 11 years, I think 10, 11 years. And we're averaging about 10,000 people a year getting saved. So this last crusade, I'm sure we're very close. If not, we went over. 100,000 people have been saved. And they've established, I don't know, 230, 250 churches, and God has used us mightily for why I don't know. He just chose us to kind of pioneer this, and so that was going on at the same time we were building our church here. I went out to speak. Stella and I went down to south to speak, and we had a friend of ours, Ambassador Larry Huggins, who came to our church to cover the service. I would be gone. We're out preaching. He was going to cover the service for us. He came in and covered the service and everything. And when he left, uh, something happened where somebody on purpose burnt the whole building down. It was arson. Found out later, and I'm sure it was targeting us. And I always tease Larry. I said he came to our church and brought the fire, but it was not the kind you wanted. burnt, Everything burnt to a crisp. In fact, even our camera equipment, everything melted. And then we found out that we didn't have the amount of insurance that we needed by mistake that somebody had made. And it was a mess. We just had to get a new place. We didn't have any money. We had to step out by faith. God came to our rescue, gave us favor with a guy that uh, built buildings. And in his place where he built building, he had space to rent, and they had a place where they're doing tile in there. It was a tile shop or something. And he says, "Okay, come on over, Tom." And he is the sweetest man, Catholic guy. We hit it off. We sat down and talked, and I said to him, I called his name. I said, "Look, it's too much money for me. We can't do this right now. What you're asking is not inappropriate. I understand that this is the going rate here and so on, but for us, we're just going to have to try to find something else." He said, "Well, wait, 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 wait." He said, "I like you." He said, "Let's work something out." So we sat down and did. He just worked out a schedule where every year we added a little bit to it, and we agreed to that, and so on and so forth. And we signed the lease for I think 7, 10 years, and it was big enough for where we had to remodel everything, and it was quite a deal. We remodeled, we got chairs, we did all this stuff, and God was moving powerfully and awesome. And he even chipped in some money. It was really strange because well, I had such favor with this guy; it was amazing. So I had a date where I needed $10,000 to um, finish what we owed him because it was his own private money he gave to us to help remodel. And we had a certain date where we had to have, and I did not have it. And I'll never forget this because it's the way God works sometimes. And I was getting really yancy about it because, come on, Lord, we need the money. I don't know if you've ever been there. He's always on time, but it's not the time I want sometimes. It's, I'll never forget this. So we had this Sunday service where we were starting in that building, and so we needed several things. We needed a sign, and that was going to cost us about $2,500, I think, or something. So we had all these needs. Then I needed the $10,000, and I'm sitting there going, well, let's see what happens. And so I looked up as we started the service, and guess who came in? It was him. you know, and so we're having the service, and I know I got to give him 10,000 bucks, and he's probably wondering where it is, and I don't know what to tell him yet, and it didn't come up yet, but I'm stalling, and I don't know what to say. And while the service is going on, he says, "Can I say something?" I said, "Okay, what is it?" And I called his name, and he said, "I tell you what, I want to purchase, I want to do your sign." And he paid for the sign, 2,500 bucks, you know, and which was really great. But after that happened, I'm thinking, oh man, I got to tell this guy we don't have the money. I hate that kind of stuff. And so I'm sitting there talking to him with a bunch of other people, and we're stalling there, and they're in counting the money, and all of a sudden they came out and they whispered in my ear that the $10,000 had come in and a huge offering for the church. And we were rejoicing because it was just in God's timing. It all worked. We knew we were in God's. Well, that's how God really blesses you these exciting situations, and we begin to use that building and fix it up to where it's really nice now. And it'll hold, I don't know, it'll hold 100 and something people, adults, and then we got the children's church and everything in there. So there's some room to grow there. We're getting pretty full, but we've been ministering for a long time with the people. And then all of a sudden, things really begin to amp up. And I'm going to share with you what's happening here in the last few years. I was sitting in a mall, and there was one of our people that was at church I'd known her for years, but she was fairly new. And we're in the mall, and I'm sitting there, excuse me, I got a call from her. And she asked me something. She said, "Pastor Tom, um, I know that you believe in deliverance. I've seen, how God uses you that way and all this." And she says, I know of a fella," and she called his name. I'm not going to say who it is. It's not important, but he has a pretty good sized ministry across the nation. And what he does is he has a deliverance map for churches that do deliverance so people can know where to go. Can we put the church on there or me on there at the church? I said, "Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead and do that. That's fine. If people want to come, and that might be a way to get people. I don't know." And that changed everything. When we started that, all of a sudden people started coming, and not just a few. I mean, people started coming for deliverance, and we got thrown into this deliverance deal. Uh, just like right on. I mean, people started coming in. We saw miracles. We saw people get from demons, people being healed, and the church really doubled in size, almost tripled in size. Now it's. I think what's happened is we went through a little pruning, but we've clearly doubled in size. And the unique thing is that when we were doing all this deliverance, and then we had these special meetings for deliverance and all this, we'd fill the place up, and we had crowds that would come from other churches, and things were happening that we were picking up people, you know, uh, that had a lot of needs that came in that got deliverance, got healed, got whatever and some of them stuck. That's what I'm trying to say. Not everybody, but some of them stuck. And so the church started growing, and it was amazing because we were going, wow, this is just really faster than we thought. All of a sudden, I was growing, so that was exciting. And because we had just we went through this COVID thing at the same time that was happening. I was good. I said I get to stay home. I'm not going to travel much, so I can work on this because it's growing and growing, and that's what we did. And so people were coming, people were getting set free, and the unique thing about it was that our church is in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. We have some folks from Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, but the smaller amount of people that literally don't come from the city the church is in, they come from up to 2 hours away. I'm not kidding. Hour to 2 hours away, 40 minutes, hour, 2 hours away. I've been 40 minutes away. And the people come from all over because we have a slogan, "A Church Alive is Worth the Drive." We even made t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff out. And so people are coming to our church and even moving to get there so they could get into the church. It's starting to happen. The word is getting out there about what God is doing, and people are interested and they start watching us. And then we started the internet church, and we have a lot of people on there that are partnering with us, and they watch these videos and so on and so forth. Thank you, partners. And it just started growing, and then I said, well, we got to make several changes. Number one, I need help because you know there's too much here going on, and some things are getting lost in the shuffle here. We found out, and so I hired my son-in-law, Pastor Tim, to help, and he's just done a marvelous job. But it was a real step of faith because we were putting somebody else on a salary, and we really didn't have the money at the time, but we were doing it by faith because the Lord instructed us to go forward that way. And the money came in. The money is just, the church has grown, the money came in. We've been going ever since. It's been powerful, awesome. And now we're starting to print up all the books that over the years that I have written that were out of print. And we're just going great guns right now. And it's looking more and more like God is moving us to really have an impact on this area. We went to a meeting in Sturgeon Bay, and there was a young man and a young couple, basically a whole group of people that are having meetings in cities in Wisconsin, reaching out and bringing people in and preaching the gospel, and people are getting saved. And so they were doing this, and they were going to do it in Sturgeon Bay, and we got involved, and they were really appreciative because people don't normally get involved with them. So there was like 600 people there, that type of thing, and while I was sitting there that night, all of a sudden, I knew, wow, something's going to happen here. And sure enough, all of a sudden, this guy comes out that I didn't know very well at all. I had met him only, I think, maybe once, and he didn't know me that much either. He knew my name, I think, and he was back praying before he came out for service. Took a nap. He had a little mini vision or dream or something. He said. And in the dream, the Lord said to him, "There's a man in the service tonight. I want you to acknowledge this and pray over him because he's the key to this area, revival. His name is Thomas Terry." And I went, "Oh, when he said that, I thought, oh, you know, and everybody was looking, everybody knew me. A lot of the people in the town did not like me. They thought we were fanatics and all this. So, make a long story short, they brought me up and prophesied over me. And when they did, I was really, I'm in my 60s now. I'm 69 just the other day. And I'm thinking, man, maybe I could kind of fade out slowly, It ain't going to happen. So it placed within me a hunger and a desire to go forward and to do much more for God than we have in the past. And this church is really gotten to be a blessing. The people are so sweet. They're working with you. They're hard workers. They're hungry. I haven't seen this kind of hunger since the 90s. And so we know it's happening all over the body of Christ, and we appreciate it. So that's where Stella and I, and that's where our wonderful life has come up full circle to this particular time in life, thinking that, maybe we're coming into the twilight of our years and that is time for us to back down, back off, and not do so much, or even maybe retire. I don't believe in retiring, but just do some things. No, the Lord wanted us to go full speed ahead, And I started thinking about this and the other day, and I said, okay, so what I'm doing now, just so you can pray for me, is I'm working on I'm losing some weight. I need to do that. I got a total gym. I'm working out on the total gym, and that has changed everything. It's helped me in my legs, my balance, my strength. I'm going after that, and I'm really, really making progress that way. I just feel so much better, and everything is really going. It was tough. It was a tough 10 years. We had to fight some battles, but we got to the place now to where we are getting direction from God to attack our community literally and unravel with spiritual warfare so much of the things that have held on to our area and into the great state of Wisconsin. by the way, in 25 years, we're not taking total credit for all this because we know a lot of people are praying. But in 25 years, our state went from California politically now to a red state, as y'all saw in the elections. And this is, it's close, but even the most of the Democrats up here are pretty conservative. They're old time Democrats, and a lot of them are leaving that party now because of the things that are happening. But Wisconsin has been changed, and that you don't have that kind of change without revival. See, God's people need to be revivaled and refreshed, and then you get them praying. That Spirit of God moves, and then you start getting a harvest of people coming into the church, and that's consistent. Then what happens is you have reformation, which is a change in in society that is caused because of the prayers and the presence of what you're doing. And folks across the nation, I want to encourage all pastors listening to me. This is the time of that. It's the time of revival, outpourings, restoration, healing, deliverance, all that stuff. But also, it is a time of not only harvest, but it is a time of reformation for our nation. And so we are in charge of making sure that spiritually speaking, we continue to change the atmosphere of our area. We're praying, we're fasting, we're doing all these things so that we can go forth and do it. And I think God is raising up churches in every area, in every state, praise God, all over the place that are doing the same thing. So I'm excited about life. Now, if I leave tomorrow, don't feel sorry for me, Argentina, because I got to tell you this, I'm looking forward to that someday. And if I did, I know my time would be up, and I had fulfilled my calling and plan. So I'm heading into my 70s here next year, and I'm expecting to be around till I'm about 90, still pastoring if I can, or doing some work in the gospel, and doing a lot of writing and teaching and so on. That the things that I know will help people, because I have now the experience to help even preachers and people. So we love you. We appreciate you. All you guys that are partnering with us. If you're not, would you please pray about it? We need partners. We need more people to stand with us on a monthly basis so we can do more crusades, so we can do more things. And seeing people, I think last year, it's about 10,000. We're averaging about almost 10,000 people a year. I kid you not, getting saved. So this is a fruitful work. It's a good ground for you to sow. We appreciate all that you do, your prayers, your support. We love you. If you want to join our online church, just click on the links, go over there. There's a place to give offerings. There's a place to join the online church. If you need deliverance, there's something for you to fill out, and you can make a time where we can see you. You can come and just get in the services, and we can pray for you if you need deliverance or healing. We love you. We appreciate you. Until next time, God bless you guys. Thank you for being so cool. God bless.